Hello, everyone. Welcome to our ninth episode, actually, of this podcast show. Hope you guys are enjoying what we're doing. Today, we'll be talking about a lot more in depth about unity at SBL and also the understanding and the value of unity around the world that the world desperately needs. So, Martina, would you like to start?
Yes, Nayeef, thank you for this important topic, I think, because, everyone talks about unity constantly and what is actually unity. Unity, and we have talked about this already in the past. Unity is really caring about oneself, but also about the others, and not seeing things in a separate modality. It's not about you and me, it's about us, as we said. And before we started this podcast, we had an introductory conversation about the current situation globally, and now there is, in quotation marks, peace in Gaza, for instance. And I said, I'm not sure whether this will last in the long run for a specific reason, because for many reasons, actually, because of course, from within, what we always say at SPL, it's so important from within that we connect with ourselves, so that if we connect with ourselves, we know, that we want to protect ourselves, and we want to extrapolate within ourselves what we are here for, so giving meaning to our lives. And we then respect also the respective other about that. But we also discussed, this drama that people have gone through, and this is just one of the many examples, but to use this example as a basis to talk about unity is that also in this situation, people, whether, from one side or the other side, they underwent so many traumatic experiences that you said it may be difficult to actually build peace, And I said, yes, it will be difficult for sure, because you can't just wipe away, the trauma that people have gone through, whatever their situation is. But there is hope. And in my view, there is always hope. Once people open up, understand that trauma has been there and is there, but there is always a new way at looking at the situation by trying to understand the respective other person, by understanding that what is the basic calling for each and everyone. If the basic calling for each and everyone is to live in peace, where there is respect, where there is appreciation for one another's upbringing, one another's cultural backgrounds, and so forth, and the willingness of creating an environment where each person is seen, it may sound like utopia, but it is possible, because innately, as I said to you before, I firmly believe, innately, if we look at nature, there is a system in place that keeps oneself alive, whether this is cells, whether this is plants, whether this is trees, whether these are the cells within the body. And when the cells within the body are in harmony, then it works. And the same can be applied to a societal organization. But we need to understand where we, what we aim for, and if there is meaning in what we aim for, meaning, okay, I see you, I see myself, I see you, and how can we do that in a co-creative way? This is all about education again, and learning again, and understanding that what we have done in the past of acting and reacting straight away on the basis of what on the horrible things that are happening, if we are doing it without pausing and understanding the background, then we end up in difficulties. And that's why I still believe there is hope, there is possibility, and this is what we aim to do at SPL. It may sound like, an illusion, but I don't believe it's an illusion. As I said to you before, I love Viktor Frankl's work, who was in the concentration camp during the Nazi Germany. And he survived because he found meaning in his life. He knew that he wanted to survive because he wanted to show other people that once you find that meaning in your life, which every person has, by the way, I think, then if you've got the meaning in your life, then you move forward and then you can overcome the pain, even if it has layers of pain that seem to be over the top of resistance, but you are kept moving forward by saying, yeah, there is something you need to still do in your life. So, and I see that also, Nayeef. I think this is something that you are also driven by. And I would also like you to give your, understanding about that. And also maybe to tell us how much of this kind of education you received from SPL.
First off, there are many, many important and key notes that you have mentioned. One of the most important and prominent one I would like to highlight is the word hope. There is still hope in humanity, and there is still a hope for rebuilding things. I mean, we humans are meant to solve problems that we have, created for ourselves. So yeah, it's important that we just don't hold on to what happened in the past, but learn the mistakes, promise to ourselves to not repeat what has happened on us to repeat it on others, but rather focus on rebuilding ourselves and work in harmony, which both the countries that I've mentioned demonstrated really well. They have worked hand in hand, and now they're, pretty much being a part of the world that is constantly, in business, that are constantly in cooperation and policies and diplomacies and democracies and everything. So there are certain occurrences where, we just put a blind eye to it. As you said, we are ignorant about it. I think the key to this is that being mindful about what's happening around us and be available to give the hand of unity and work together and recognize, and the least we could do is realize that something wrong has been done by the people that we share the world with. So we are all responsible for it somehow to be, giving them the opportunity to rebuild themselves as well and be a part of the, society that we're living in. And SBL is all about that. It's about, you don't have always people from the same background or people from the same, come from the same, positive stories all the time. You will have people who perhaps may experience something that is not that is unusually terrible, and then you have people who are always up there to work together with them, are always there to support one another and demonstrate the true meaning of unity at SBL, because we share a common goal and a vision. Our goal and our vision is to create the world and make the world a little better, by anything that we are capable of doing. And if we include them within the vision and the goal of our own, I think that's when the magic happens. No matter where you come from, what values or what faith you belong or you come from, you also share the same space, safe space, I would say, to demonstrate what truly you hold, what potential you truly hold. And I think every single one of the human beings holds potential, holds talent. We just need to create the safe space, which unfortunately in our world is not anymore the case. We are always creating, messes and wars and conflicts, and all these terrible things are happening. But I still see the hope in humanity. I still believe that there will be people who and nations who will step up and see this as a responsibility of their own to work for a better society. Because if you take a look at the whole situation that our whole entire world is going on from a different perspective, you'll see the world is suffering as a whole. It's not just the humans, it's not just animals, it's the whole ecosystem that's collapsing. So we have to find a solution to, be responsible for everything and serve the duty as humans.
Yeah, and I believe, even if it's a small place, as you rightly said, Naif, it's creating this safe space where there is the understanding that each person, our mission, our blueprint is to recognize that each person basically has a specific essence. We call it essence, and that the essence is the meaning that each person brings then into life. Because if I'm, for instance, a musician, yeah, and that's my essence, and I express myself through music, then I can bring this meaning into the world, and I will make the world a different place, because this is my expression. And I think if we create this kind of understanding, even if it's a small place, I think we shouldn't be too much giving up on the fact that the world is such a big place, and we are so tiny and so small. And because we are so tiny and so small, we can't do anything about it. I think it's believing in this light within ourselves and go forward. And this little actions, even the little thoughts, as we mentioned last time, they have a ripple effect on the surroundings around us. And that may then reach more and more people. It's like a drop doesn't make the ocean, but without drops there's no ocean. Yeah. And eventually it will intertwine. And I think it's really this kind of unity. We need to understand that a part of the big picture is not separate from the big picture, like a puzzle. If I take out one piece within a puzzle, then I notice something is missing, and this is a metaphor for actually how I see it, a metaphor that we should not underestimate the power of each single individual. And that takes me back to a notion and to an approach to education that we also emphasize within SPL. And it's this kind of nature, creative nature of each and every one of us, that we, of course, we are shaped by where we are and conditioned by lots of different things and layers. But at the end of the day, I have the power, each and every one has the power to create and recreate and co-create with others something different. And everything, all the systems, everything, political systems, economic systems, have been created by human beings. Since it's been created by human beings, we can recreate them and actually use nature as our master, because nature shows us what is needed. And if nature actually is our master, and we are part of nature, and and are part of those big picture of the puzzle, then we understand we can't leave anything out of the equation. And that's why unity is such an important value that we showcase to our students and ourselves on a daily basis, is such an important aspect, because unity doesn't mean that we all have to do the same thing at the same time. Actually, unity is something completely different from the understanding of SBL. Unity means that each person, as diverse as they are, bring their unique essence into that kind of context, or whatever they are, and they do their bits and pieces. But at the end, they craft the unity, they craft the sculpture, they craft the painting, they craft the environment. And I think that's very important to know, that individuality within unity is, in my view and in SPL's view, the way forward. Because if we only focus on individuality by leaving unity aside, then we develop into selfish human beings. Then we, don't see anymore that our individuality has a meaning in order to support the community. And this is a different approach. This is an approach safeguarding, nurturing, nourishing the individuality within a context. And that means open-mindedness, that means non-judgmental, that means, understanding and appreciation of the respective other. And then there is gratitude. If I'm grateful for Naeef for our conversations, because if you were not to be there, I would maybe do it by myself. It wouldn't be the same. And us, now there is kind of exchanging energy between you and me. This is how SPL looks at things, and this is how I also believe we can create unity at a larger level.
Most certainly. I mean, if you cherish and embrace individuality within the unity, I think that's much more powerful. And that's the only way out in this world. I mean, if you separate yourself and embrace your individuality by yourself, you detach yourself from the whole group of society, and you matter. So because of you, the whole ecosystem is going to break. I mean, take a look at if one country would stop their trade with all the rest of the world, that would impact and affect the entire world. I always believe, and I keep saying, I think in multiple one of our podcasts, that the butterfly effect is real. It is true, and we cannot separate anyone at all, because every single living beings and living things matter. Every moments count, every decisions count, and every single human beings count. So we need to be mindful about what we are doing, why we are doing things, and like you always say, like we should always question the why, and that would lead us to the truth, I guess.
Yeah, and I think this is a great ending for our conversation today. Always, ask ourselves, what is our why? What is the meaning? And how is this why embedded into the notion of how can I as an individual, bring something added value, serve the unity, the community. Yes. So thank you, Naeef.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us till the end. We will be back next week again.